My guess is that if you have clicked and decided to watch this video, then you are contemplating, you are thinking of quitting trading. And before you do that, just stay with me, because I might just convince you otherwise. I was in the similar situation. 2023. I have bought a course. I have studied the charts, back tested for long hours, traded, make money. Then I will lose it all, blow accounts. It was the same circle 3-4 times, and the same thing happening over and over again. Just before I could think I've got it, then it goes back again, losing all the money. So for me, it was like, okay, I have studied strategies, I have back tested, I have done it all. What might be the reason why I'm not breaking through? What might be the reason? And I guess most of you are at that place where you have done it all. You have spent countless hours, sleepless nights, back testing, and you are seeing other people making money with the same strategy, but it's not working for you. And I think that is why a lot of people now, end up quitting, because they are seeing other people making money with the same strategy, but they can't do it. Some of you end up thinking maybe the other guys are not making money. They're just selling courses. They're just making money with courses. That is what I was thinking too. That now these guys must be making money through courses, through selling signals. They're not making money with trading, because I've done the work, I've put in the work, but it was not coming forth. And I remember, I paused everything that has to do with trading. I even unsubscribed from trading channels. I unfollowed everyone who was trading. And, I took time to myself. And the dominant thoughts that I was having at that time was, maybe this thing is not meant for me. I was thinking in that same line, maybe this thing isn't for me. Because if you have read the Bible, you will know that, it says God has plans for us. And I was thinking, maybe trading is not part of God's plans about my life. I started to question that. My purpose. Who am I? What am I here? My purpose. I thought maybe trading is not part of my purpose. I started, to, now search about what my purpose is. And I didn't find anything, until I dabbled down on spirituality. I started to have an interest in spirituality. I started to buy books. If I can show you some of the books, that I read, The New Earth, Dr. Joe Dispenza, The Ultimate Happiness Prescription, Deepak Chopra, The Autobiography of a Yogi, The Power of Now. This is the material that I started to really have interest in, because I wanted to know, I wanted to go deep inside to know, okay, who am I? And by that time, it was no longer about trading. It was no longer about making it in trading. It was no longer about making money. It was about knowing myself. There's even a YouTube channel called Know Thyself. That's what I consumed for most of the time. But what I can tell you is, from this journey of reading all these books, studying spirituality, one of the things that I encountered was, sometimes we think I have to find my purpose. But what I've learned is But what I learned by that time is you, instead of finding a path, you are the path. Instead of finding your purpose, you are the purpose. You are the path. Meaning that you don't necessarily have to have everything figured out. You don't necessarily have to know where you are going. But what you do every day, how you show up every day, that is how you are charting your own path. So you are your own path. I started to learn about how we are not our own how we are not our thoughts. You are not your thoughts. You are not your mind. I started to learn how to rise above your thoughts. I started to learn meditation. And what meditation does is that as you sit down observing your thoughts, you notice that there is a space that is created between the thoughts. From thought number 1 to thought number 2, there is a space. And when you start, it's that small. But the more you sit and observe your thoughts, that space or that gap, it widens. It widens. Now, how does that help when now you move back to trading? Is that a lot of traders, when they are trading and all is not going well, like they are in a trade, and then a thought comes, remove your stop loss, they will immediately remove the stop loss because there is no gap between the thought and the action. But meditation helps you to build that gap. From the thought to the action, if there is a gap, you find that if the thought comes, remove the stop loss, and there is a gap between the thought and the action, you find that you are able to not do that because you are thinking clearly. The thoughts are very clear. You have that gap to change the thought. You see what I mean? So I started to learn about that. I started to learn something again that is so much important is that a lot of times we are coming into trading thinking, I want to make money so that I can be happy. But you find that happiness, peace, love, joy is what we already have. Now, digging deep into spirituality, you begin to learn a lot about yourself. You begin to learn about your inner self. And when your inner self is coherent, like you have a clear state of being, then you find that everything that you do outside of yourself is going to be coherent. It's going to align with who you are internally. So the more I focused on the inside, because of what I've learned, the more everything that I do on the outside started to take shape. My trading started to take shape. And obviously it didn't happen on day one. It's something that I practiced over time. It's something that I practiced over time, and I began to see that, things are really taking shape. I started to understand myself deeply within myself, knowing myself, who and what I truly are, knowing, I started to become content. I started, not chasing money. I started to be content when a trade was going against me. All these things, they became because I focused on the inside. I focused on the internal being, my internal state of being, and this is what I did. This is all that I did, so sometimes it's not about the strategy. Sometimes it's not about the candles on a chart, more especially if you have done all that you think you can do regarding to learning about trading. You have learned the strategy, you have back tested, you have your system, your rules, your money management, everything you have done and you have back tested, but still you are not, you are not getting a break. Then you might consider going back and really digging deep, into knowing who and what you truly are from the inside, because all of these things, they are going to help you not only with trading, but with anything that you do in life general. Because all of these things, that so many people chase on the outside, the joy, the happiness, they are fundamental to growth. That means when you are joyful, you are likely to grow and succeed in whatever that you do. But most people have it, they thinking you need to do and attain certain things before you can be happy, before you can have peace. Whereas it's all that we are. It's all who we are. Spirituality will help you also with detachment. And if I can read something, in this book, and I suggest that you get this book. It will help you a lot, not just with trading, but with everything else that you do in life. I'll read you something here that says, therefore, you are not attached to the result. Neither failure nor success has the power to change your inner state of being. So when you have learned this stuff, you find that what happens on the outside cannot change your inner state of being. Whether you lose a trade, whether you win, whether it's a break even, whether you miss the trade, is not going to affect your inner state of being. And when your inner state of being stays aligned and coherent, like I said, everything is going to work in your favor. Everything on the outside, trading included, is going to work in your favor.